Well, it's time to bring out the tissues again. So Brian Banks stars Aldous Hodge as Brian Banks and tells a true story about a man who was convicted of a crime that he didn't commit when he was 16 years old and now on parole and is trying to get back to his old life. He can't be playing football anymore. He's having a tough time getting a job because of his record. And we follow this young man who is trying to clear up his name but is having trouble because he keeps getting denied by all these lawyers who say that he can't clear up his name because he needs new evidence because the old evidence isn't relevant anymore. And so he goes out, tries to find new evidence, see what he can do to clear up his name, and that's where he runs into a lawyer that he's written several times before but has gotten denied. Justin Brooks, played that by the wonderful Greg Kinnear. Now, this film was directed by Evan Almighty and Bruce Almighty director Tom Shadyac, and it's his first film in 8-9 years. I am a sucker for true story films. I love it, and especially when it comes to sports, I think those stories are fascinating. When I heard about this film, I didn't know what to expect in this film because I only read the synopsis. I didn't hear about this film until it came out, so I didn't know what to really expect in this film. And so what I can say is that this is a tough subject to talk about, and it's something that really presses my buttons a little bit. I think the case and everything that he went through is awful and really does like this does happen in the world, and that kind of frightens me a lot. And especially when you got a young man like Brian Banks here, who all his life the only thing he's ever loved is football, and he dreams about playing in the NFL. So when all this happened, that got stripped away from him. His life got taken away from him. He about 10 years of his life was just gone, and now he's trying to do the best he can to get what he lost and trying to recoup and what he could have gotten within the past 10 years. Some of the things that I want to highlight in this film is the performance by Aldous Hodge in this film. I think that he is a great upcoming actor who I am enjoying so far. He was in this year's What Men Want, and I thought he was solid in that film, and I think he is solid in this film as well. And that's something that gravitated to me the most because even though this is a true story, sometimes it does feel like this film is aiming for a straight to TV Lifetime movie, and there are sometimes that it does aim that way. It does have its cheesy humor, and it does have a love interest in this film that kind of dissected it a little bit, but I brought some more of the element in this film that I found very appealing and I really did enjoy about this film, especially when we get to see what his life is after coming out and is on parole. One thing that I also enjoyed about this film is the fact that we got to see a peek behind the curtains on what happens when he goes out and he has his ankle monitor on and he knows his specific guidelines and rules. He knows where to go, where he can't go. But one thing that I found heartbreaking is the fact that he's trying to go out to impress this girl by the wonderful Melanie Lidbird. And I think those Melanie and Aldous played off well each other when they were together in their scenes. And I think Sherry Shepherd as his mom did a wonderful job. And I do like the fact that this showed how tough it is for him to go out and have a normal life now that he's a convicted felon and has an ankle monitor, so he has to stay within the perimeters that they tell him. He can only go from work and back home. He's out every single day trying to find a job, and nobody's gonna be able to hire him. I like the fact that they did show his struggles trying to get jobs, trying to better himself, and not be seen as this convicted felon who was committed of a crime that he didn't commit when he was in high school. And when we get to certain parts in the film that is hard to watch, and it showed how some people look at him without actually getting to know him and judging him, and that's something that I gravitated to a lot more, and I really did love about that film, and I don't think this isn't a perfect film. There's not a lot of things that I have issues with this film because I think this film is greatly written and wonderfully acted and directed. But there are some elements in this film that feel like it was made straight for TV movie, but then got a release into theaters. And although that didn't take away from the film aspect of the film, it did kind of feel like they were going aiming for that. It does feel like it was cheesy at parts, and I feel like they kind of rushed the ending a little bit. And I do want to give Dorian Missick a shout out because I think him as Brian's parole officer is amazing. And whenever he was on screen, I kind of saw, if you've seen the movie Slight that came out 2 years ago, there is some Dule Hill isms in him. And that's something that I love because I love Dule Hill, and I think he did bring some of his mannerism in there, and I really enjoyed him as his parole officer. I think he did a great job, and I think that this is a film that people should watch. It's not an easy topic to watch, which is probably why it didn't get a huge release. I wish it did because I think this is something that a lot of people should be watching and should watch if they enjoy true stories or if they're a huge fan of sports. But for me, true stories and sports are guilty pleasures for me. I really enjoy seeing a peek behind the curtains about how these players came to be and what the struggles were, and I'm really glad that he got his name cleared up and he's living the best life now, living out his dream playing for the Atlanta Falcons, and I'm glad that he got his happy ending. I'm glad that this movie, there are some tearful moments towards the end of the film, and I think this is a movie that everybody should check out if they get the chance. It's probably going to hit theaters and then it's gonna be out and on VOD and DVD soon. So, if you ever get a chance to see it in theaters, go ahead and check it out because I think this is a good enough film that everybody should be at least watching and entertained by. And if you, like I said, if you love true stories and you love movies about sports you love both, then this is going to be the film for you. I'm going to go ahead and give Brian Banks an 8 out of 10. Have you heard of Brian Banks? Have you checked it out? Go ahead and let me know what you think of it. If you like this, go ahead and click that subscribe button and let me know what you think about it down in the comments below. And coming soon, I'm going to be having a list of anticipated movies for the rest of the year from September all the way to the end of December. So go ahead and look forward to that. If you haven't seen my other reviews, go ahead and check those out. Go ahead and share them. Let your friends know, let your dog know, let your family members know. Go ahead and spread the good word. Until next time, this is Josie at the movies.